Hello, Michael here. Again today looking at Psalms 44, and we're focusing on verse 8 through to 12 for the exposition. This psalm, which is titled Come to Our Help, and we're going to go ahead and read those, 5 verses from 8 through to 12. Verse 8. In God we boast all the day long, and praise thy name forever. Selah. Verse 9. But thou hast cast off and put us to shame, and goest not forth with our armies. Verse 10. Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen. Verse 12. Thou sellest thy people for nought, and dost not increase thy wealth by their price. And so we look to the treasure of David for the exposition on that. Verse 8. In God we boast all the day long. We have abundant reason for doing so while we recount his mighty acts. What blessed boasting is this? It is the only sort of boasting that is bearable. All other manna bred worms and stank, except that which was laid up before the Lord. And all other boasting is loathsome, save this glorying in the Lord, which is laudable and pleasing. And praise thy name forever. Praise should be perpetual. If there were no new acts of love, yet ought the Lord to be praised for what he has done for his people. High let the song be lifted up, as we bring to remembrance the eternal love which chose us, predestinated us to be sons, redeemed us with a price, and then enriched us with all the fullness of God. Selah. A pause comes in fitly here, when we are about to descend from the highest to the lowest key. No longer are we to hear Miriam's timbrel, but rather Rachel's weeping. Verse 9. But thou hast cast off and put us to shame. Here the patriot bard begins to contrast the past glories of the nation's history with its present sadness and distress, which he does not ascribe to the deaths of some human champion or to the accident of war, but solely and alone to the withdrawal of Israel's God. It seemed to the mourner that Jehovah had grown weary of his people and put them away in abhorrence, as men lay aside leprous garments, loathing the sight of them. To show his pleasure, he had made his people to be ridiculed by the heathen, whose easy victories over their largest armies covered Israel with disgrace. Alas, for a church and people when the Lord, in the active energy of his Spirit, withdraws from them, they want no greater shame or sorrow. He will not cast away his people finally and totally, but many a church has been left to defeat and disgrace on account of sin, and therefore all churches should be exceedingly watchful lest the like should happen to themselves. Poverty and distress bring no shame on a people, but the Lord absence takes from a church everything which can exalt and ennoble. And goest not forth with our armies. If the Lord be not the leader, of what avail our strong battalions? Vain are the combined efforts of the most zealous workers, if God's arm be not revealed. May none of us in our churches have to mourn over the ministry, the Sabbath school, the missionary work, the visiting, the street preaching, left to be carried out without the divine aid. If our great ally will not go with us, our defeat is inevitable. Verse 10. Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy. The humiliating consciousness that the Lord has left them soon makes men cowards. Flight closes the fight of those who have not the Lord in the van, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. After defeat and retreat comes spoliation. The poor, vanquished nation paid a terrible penalty for being overcome. Plunder and murder desolated the conquered land, and the invaders loaded themselves with every precious things which they could carry away. In spiritual experience, we know what it is to be despoiled by our enemies. Doubts and fears rob us of our comforts, and terrible forebodings spoil us of our hopes. And all because the Lord, for wise purposes, sees fit to leave us to ourselves. Alas, for the deserted soul, no calamity can equal the sorrow of being left of God, though it be but for a small moment. Verse 11. Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat. As sheep are slaughtered for food, so were the people slain in flocks, with ease and frequency, not with dignity of sacrifice, but with the cruelty of the shambles were they put to death. God appeared to give them up like sheep allotted to the butcher, to abandon them as the hireling abandons the flocks to wolves. The complaint is bitterly eloquent and has scattered us among the heathens. Many are carried into captivity, far off from the public worship of the temple of God, to pine as exiles among idolaters. All this is ascribed to the Lord as being allowed by him, and even appointed by his decree. It is well to trace the hand of God in our sorrows, for it is surely there. Verse 12. Thou sellest thy people for naught. As men sell merchandise to anyone who cares to have it, so the Lord seemed to hand over his people to any nation who might choose to make war upon them. Meanwhile, no good result was perceptible from all the miseries of Israel. So far as the psalmist could discover, the Lord's name received no honor from the sorrows of his people. They were given away to their foes, as if they were so little valued as not to be worth the ordinary price of slaves. And the Lord did not care to gain by them so long as they did but suffer. The woe expressed in this line is as vinegar mingled with gall. The expression is worthy of the weeping prophet, and does not increase thy wealth by their price. If Jehovah had been glorified by all this wretchedness, it could have been borne patiently, but it was the reverse. The Lord's name had, through the nation's calamities, been despised by the insulting heathen, who counted the overthrow of Israel to be the defeat of Jehovah himself. It always lightens a believer's trouble when he can hear that God's name will be honored thereby. But it is a grievous aggravation of misery when we appear to be tortured in vain. For our comfort, let us rest satisfied that in reality the Lord is glorified. And when no revenue of glory is manifestly rendered to him, he nonetheless accomplishes his own purposes, of which the grand result will be revealed in due time. We do not suffer for naught, nor are our griefs without results. Yes, indeed, it can be a hard swallow of the big pill when sin wreaks its ravages upon our lives. May God's mercy and love overcome all these inadequacies of ours. Thank you, Lord, for your word, that you might have enjoyed this meditation. I do pray, as a reminder of what sin sometimes brings our ways. May God be ever glorified. Michael here declaring yet again, Jesus is Lord. Until next time, be blessed.